Welcome to the Realise Mindfulness podcast and episode 9, where today our focus is caring for ourselves. Together, we'll explore one specific element of the 8-week course that supports us to mindfully nourish mind, body and spirit. And that's mindful movement. Movement practices are an integral part of the 8-week course and are threaded through its entirety like beads on a necklace. These practices may include mindful yoga, qigong, walking, and of course bringing mindful awareness to the ways we move our bodies in everyday life, both through our leisure pursuits, the sports we enjoy, and in our day-to-day activities. For our formal shared practice in this episode, I offer a stretch and breathe practice of 30 minutes, which integrates some simple stretches and yoga poses with a short period of sitting with the breath. I also offer guidance for a more informal walking practice, an invitation to be nourished by all of our senses whilst taking a walk. Of course, there are so many different ways we can care for ourselves. Exploring the different facets of nourishing and nurturing ourselves is often something we explore from many different angles when I work with clients during one-to-one mindful well-being coaching. It's also a topic we shine the spotlight of attention on during week 7 of an 8-week course. Often during this session, participants are encouraged to reflect on the daily diet they take in. Not just food, but the stimulus we take in through all our sense gateways. Our environment, the news we pay attention to, social media, and the many different ways we communicate with each other, our hobbies and our social activities. The list goes on and on. Maybe taking a pause now to think about what would feature on your own list. And once you've started to build a picture of everything you're taking in, getting a sense of which of these things nourish you and which potentially contribute to stress. Through reflection and group discussion during session 7, we explore ways that mindfulness may support us to work wisely with these stressors. Suggestions from the group often include things like an intentional behavioural change. For example, taking a mindful pause before scrolling through our iPhone. And of course, using the practices explored during the programme is another popular suggestion. So potentially using a 3-step breathing space or a mindful pause to simply create a bit of space between stimulus and response. Another way of working skillfully with our stressors is to develop an attitude shift. Personally, I found this really helpful for dealing with some of the minutiae of everyday life. For instance, I used to feel quite resentful about hanging the washing up to dry. For some reason, this was a household task that I found really tedious. Recognising this and mindfully noticing the impact that this resentment had on my mind-body system opened up a sense of choice. So now when I'm putting the washing out, if I notice that I'm starting to feel resentful, maybe registering tension in the body or a particular internal dialogue, then I'm able to pause and maybe appreciate the fact that we have a washing machine and so many clothes. Or perhaps stop and enjoy the colours and textures or the smell of clean laundry. And this simple act of gaining perspective and a bit of gratitude really helps to shift my mood, and the job seems to get done much more easily. So, before we move on to explore mindful movement in more detail, an invitation to take some time to reflect on how mindfulness and all of the themes and practices that we've explored in the podcast together so far can support you to deal more skillfully with some of the potential stressors in your own life. And now, let's explore mindful movement together as one specific gateway into mindful well-being and to caring for ourselves. Being with the body in movement can offer us a fresh perspective on what shows up in our field of experience and on how we typically relate to ourselves. It can offer an opportunity to explore habitual patterns. For example, how do we cope with boredom or frustration if a guided movement practice seems to be moving too slowly for our busy, driven-doing mind? Do we notice a sense of striving to achieve a particular pose or posture? And how do we meet our edges with wisdom and compassion? During guided movement practices, there's an invitation to care for and respond to ourselves with kindness and compassion, especially if our body's not able to move in the way we'd like it to. We can practice being with what's present in the body in a kind and attentive way, noticing the flux and flow of sensations in the body, in both movement and in stillness. For many people, movement practices can be an accessible way to practice mindfulness, particularly at times of high intensity or strong emotion, when sitting may be more challenging. After my mum died a few years ago, my mindfulness practice was incredibly supportive to me, but I found it really tough to sit for the long practices. Mindful movement offered me a way of kindly being with my pain and sadness in a way that was manageable for me. Walking in nature was particularly soothing, and I'll offer a bit more guidance on this shortly. Walking, or moving in whatever way our body's physically able to, is a versatile choice for our movement practice. Last episode, we talked about the power of nourishing ourselves with a day of practice. On a typical retreat day, there'll be one or many opportunities for an extended period of walking practice. Rather than offering guidance on formal walking here, I'll offer an invitation to take a nourishing walk, exploring the body through the lens of your senses in much the same way we did in the raisin practice in episode 2. If you haven't listened yet, you may like to go back and check that out. And if now's a suitable time for you, you'd maybe like to join me in some mindful walking. Perhaps you can grab some earphones or take a walk inside your own home. And we'll use our sense gateways to shine the spotlight of our attention on our experience as we walk. And of course, if now is not a convenient time, you can simply listen to the guidance for now and maybe choose to take a mindful walk at a later time. And if you are choosing to take a nourishing walk right now, beginning with a moment of mindful pause to stand and ground, feeling into the sensations in the soles of the feet, and sensing the arms long and heavy by the sides, the spine rising elegantly from the waist, and then, as you're ready, beginning to move the body, maybe noticing which foot wants to go first, and establishing a soothing walking rhythm, one that's suitable to the environment that you find yourself in. So adjusting your pace to fit the terrain, the temperature and surroundings, and any other people in your environment. Feeling the flow of the body in movement, the engagement of the muscles in the legs and arms, feet touching the floor with each step, arms swinging, maybe noticing the sensations of air on skin. And tuning into the soundscape in your environment. Soaking in the sights. And maybe settling on something that delights or attracts you. Maybe a flower or a plant. Or if you're inside, a meaningful ornament or a piece of furniture. If there are others around you, maybe a smiling face of a passerby, or a dog enjoying its walk, or something else in your environment that brings a smile to your face and an uplift in your heart. Maybe pausing your walk to allow yourself to savour and soak in the pleasant sights, sounds and smells you encounter, and the simple sense of the body in movement and in stillness. And when you're ready, continuing to walk on, finding your soothing walking pace once again, and being with the shifting sensations of the body in movement. And in this way, continuing to nourish the senses in whatever ways you feel called to do for the duration of your walk. So, this walking practice is one we can return to at any point we choose to, whether we're outside walking or maybe just a few moments of nourishing our senses through movement in our own home. And in addition to the nourishing walking practice, there are of course many other ways we may choose to explore informal practice following the episode. For example, you may also like to bring an attitude of mindful awareness to movement in daily life. That could include something as simple as intentionally pausing, settling into sensations in the body at rest, and then following sensations in movement, maybe as you stretch to reach something in a high cupboard, or simply intentionally taking your seat and settling into sitting as you sit down to work or watch TV. And of course, you can also bring mindful awareness to the movement activities you already enjoy. Perhaps yoga, qigong, tai chi. These may be obvious choices, but remembering when we approach this mindfully, we're not attempting to achieve a particular posture or work the body in any way. Rather, we're intending to be with the body, in movement and in stillness, noticing sensations and thoughts and moods as they arise and pass through, just as we do in the body scan or the sitting meditation, for example. With this attitude of curious attention, we can actually bring mindfulness to any movement activity, whether it's a favourite sport we participate in, or a hobby like gardening. I love spending time with horses, and I've explored mindful riding, mindful brushing, and even mindful poo picking. Nothing's too grand or too mundane. As the Zen proverb on enlightenment advises us, chop wood, carry water. Of course, the encouragement here is to be fully present and aware whilst we perform these tasks. With this attitude, we can mindfully clean the house, hang the washing out to dry, or work in the garden. In this way, being with the body, in movement and in stillness, we nourish ourselves with mindful presence. So, let's explore a movement practice together now as we move into a 30-minute stretch and breathe practice. This 30-minute stretch and breathe practice begins with some simple movements and stretches in a standing position, and then goes on to a period of sitting. And also knowing the whole practice can be done from a seated position if standing for any period of time isn't right for you just now. To begin with, we bring awareness to the body as it moves, doing some simple, gentle stretches and holding some positions. And also spend some time just being with the body, enjoying it, appreciating it, and moving in a little closer to hard or soft edges. So, with the soft edges, we may explore moving a little closer into certain positions, exploring how this is. Also, being aware of harder edges where there may be real discomfort, and easing back if necessary. The practice isn't about achieving a particular level of stretching or holding, so noticing any tendency to push too hard or to want to achieve a particular state. And see instead if you can bring some gentle interest and care to the body and to your experience from moment to moment. And taking particular care if you have an injury or any ongoing issue. So, feeling free to adapt or modify any of these stretches if that feels right for you. Now, whether standing or sitting, beginning with a sense of feet flat on the floor, coming into contact with the ground beneath them. Making sure they're about a hip's width apart and facing forward, parallel with each other. Checking that knees are soft, not locked. That the spine is upright but not stiff. And a sense of openness in the shoulders and chest. And allowing the arms to hang down loosely by the sides of the body, or resting in the lap if sitting down. Checking that the head's nicely balanced on top of the spine, and standing or sitting with a sense of dignity, being awake to each moment. Maybe a sense of the body being a little bit like a mountain, so a sense of grounding on the earth, and the top of the head reaching up towards the sky. And now bringing the focus of attention to the breath. So any sensations of breathing, particularly in the belly if this feels okay. The rising of the belly on the in-breath, and the falling away on the out-breath. And remembering that if focusing on the breath isn't right for you right now, then just choosing another anchor point in the body, wherever feels most steady and grounding, and tuning into sensation here. Tuning into the full duration of the in-breath and the full duration of the out-breath. Or, if the anchor's somewhere else, noticing any and all sensations as they change from moment to moment. And we're not trying to control or change these sensations, just letting the body breathe naturally. Just allowing the rise and fall. And in a moment, we're going to allow some movement into the body. So beginning with the hands, just curling the fingers inwards towards the palms, then straightening and stretching the fingers out again, really extending the fingers. Noticing if you're thinking about these movements and seeing how it is to really sense into them. And flexing and extending the wrists, just bringing movement to this part of the body. Then bending and straightening the elbows, moving the shoulders, really tuning into sensations as we do this. Maybe enjoying this sense of the body moving, really appreciating the fact that the body can move in this way. And then making some very gentle movements of the neck. Maybe just moving the head from side to side, very slowly. And then moving the upper body, the trunk of the body a little. Loosening up the spine in whatever way feels right for you. Taking care all the time as we move. And then the hips. And then moving the knees. Maybe some bending. Extending. And then the ankles. Maybe rolling the feet so there's a sense of the ankles almost having a massage as the feet move around. And then, when you're ready, coming back to stillness. Back to that sense of the body, like a mountain, grounded, but reaching up towards the sky. Sensing into the body and noticing any little ripples or echoes of those movements we've just done. Giving yourself permission to maybe savour the pleasant sensations, really enjoying any sense of ease or softness, tingling, vibration, and also an appreciation that you have this body that can move, this body that can breathe. And noticing any tendency to hold the breath. This can happen if we're concentrating on movement. So just checking in that the breath's moving freely through the body. And now on an in-breath, raising the arms up in front of the body so that they're horizontal with the floor. And on the out-breath, moving them down again. And just continuing with this movement, following with the breath as you raise the arms up in front of the body. And on the out-breath, allowing the arms back down to the sides of the body. Really noticing, tuning into the sensations in the arms and the shoulders, or maybe even other parts of the body as you do this. And if that feels okay, you may just simply want to stay here doing these movements, bringing your arms up in front of your body. But if it feels okay to take it a little further, you can now raise your arms up in front of you and then right up over your head, all the way to the vertical as you breathe in, and down again as you breathe out. Really paying attention to the movement in between each posture. So in between the arms being at the sides, all the way up until the hands are right over the head. We sometimes call this in-betweening, so sensing into the movements between each posture. And then, when you're ready, just allowing the arms to settle down again at the sides of the body for a moment. Again, tuning into any echoes or ripples that remain after those movements. Maybe there's still a sense of movement in the arms, even though they're still. Allowing the arms to rest there at the side of the body. And then, on the next in-breath, beginning to raise the arms out to the sides, slowly feeling the muscles working, sensing the weight of the arms. And once they get to the sides, you might want to continue to move them up over the head, so turning the palms up if that feels more comfortable, and raising the arms all the way up above the head so that they're parallel with each other, fingers reaching to the ceiling. And just breathing here for a moment, sensing that stretch. Allowing the breath to come and go in the body. And maybe noticing any sense of movement or stretching in other parts of the body. The back, the trunk of the body, the upper part of the body. Maybe even the legs. Noticing any intense sensations. Maybe in the shoulders. And if that feels okay, if there's a soft edge here, seeing how it is to explore that feeling of intensity, that feeling of stretch. Really sensing into your experience. Only staying as long as it feels okay, and easing away from the stretch if you need to. And so, if you haven't already, on the next out-breath, releasing that stretch a little, and very slowly letting the arms move down. So remembering that sense of in-betweening, sensing into the movement as the arms come down. Tuning into the sensations in the muscles as the arms return to the sides of the body. And spending a few moments now, again tuning into the after effects and the echoes of these movements. You may choose to close the eyes here if that feels comfortable for you. And if not, just keeping your gaze soft. Breathing with any sensations here in the body, right now. And now, doing some shoulder rolls. So imagining that we're drawing circles with the shoulders. First of all, raising the shoulders up towards the ears. Then moving the shoulders forwards as if they're trying to touch each other in front of the body. Then dropping them down to the floor. And then gently moving them back, almost so the shoulder blades start to move inwards towards each other. So allowing these 4 positions now to come together as a rolling motion, almost like you're drawing circles with the shoulders. And checking in with your breathing again, noticing any holding of the breath. You might want to explore how it is to breathe in on one half of the roll and out on the other. But letting go of this if that doesn't feel right just now. And then when you're ready, changing direction. So this time rolling the shoulders back, down, forwards and up. Again, letting the breath follow these movements if that feels comfortable for you. And again now, coming to rest. Allowing the arms to drop back down alongside the body. Checking in with the posture. This sense of contact with the floor. Body upright like a mountain. And noticing any sensations here. You might notice some tightness in some parts of the body, particularly in the shoulders after these movements. So if that's the case, you might want to explore how it is to let the shoulders ease or drop on the out-breath. Seeing how that is. And when you're ready, we're going to bring some gentle movements into the head and neck. And paying particular attention here. Taking real care of the neck. And only doing as much of this as feels okay. So beginning by allowing the chin to slowly drop down towards the chest, making sure it's the weight of the head that's creating this movement, not forcing it in any way. And then very slowly rolling the head over to the left side so that the left ear is over the left shoulder. Just noticing any stretching here. Checking in on the soft or hard edges. And now, not moving the head back at all, but just simply bringing the head upright, and then gently moving it over towards the right shoulder. And then allowing the head to roll down again towards the chest. Almost like we're drawing a semicircle here. And if it feels okay, you might want to explore how it is to breathe in time with these movements. So breathing in on half of the roll of the head, and breathing out on the other half. But only if that feels right for you. Tuning in to any and all sensations as you do this. And then, when you're ready, you might want to change direction. So this time, allowing the head to roll to the right shoulder, up across over the shoulders to the left shoulder, and down in front again. So again, drawing a semicircle, a half circle as you do this. And then, when you're ready, Just allowing these movements to come to their natural end, wherever feels right for you. Bringing the head back to centre and pausing for a moment. Really tuning in to any signs or signals in the body. Noticing if the body's asking for a pause, a few breaths. Or maybe actually the body wants to have a move. Maybe something that will ease some tightness or tension. So really taking care of your body and doing what feels right for you. Maybe enjoying this moment and just listening to and responding to what the body needs. And then coming to rest, whether standing or sitting, and closing the eyes if that feels okay, or softening the gaze. Tuning in to how the body is right now. So, in a moment, if you've been standing, we're going to move from this standing position into a sitting position. And noticing now if the body's already making some movements, as if to go into that sitting position. Just checking in here for a moment. So the invitation is to bring awareness to how it is to move from standing to sitting. So it's not about getting into a particular position, but rather the movements that are involved in making that transition. The in-betweening between standing and sitting. So this becomes part of the practice itself. So when you're ready, very slowly, with as much awareness of these movements as is possible, moving to your seat now, noticing how it is for the body to move, almost as if noticing movement for the first time. And once seated, allowing the eyes to close if that feels okay. So, if you're on a chair, allowing the back to come away from the back of the chair, if that feels comfortable for you, so that the spine is supporting itself. Not stiff, not sitting to attention, but with a sense of being upright and awake. Shoulders dropping down, chest open, head balanced on spine, and allowing your body now to come into stillness. And tuning in now to any sensations of breathing in the body. No need to breathe in any particular way. Just allow your breath to find its own rhythm. And tuning in to the full duration of the in-breath. The full duration of the out-breath. And noticing any transition points in between the in-breath and the out-breath. And as ever, if focusing on the sensations of breathing isn't right for you, just allowing the attention to rest on the sensations in a chosen anchor point. And these sensations may be very small, very subtle. And if so, moving in a little closer, bringing real interest to the details of these sensations as they shift and change. And if you notice that your mind has wandered, just becoming aware of this, noticing where it's gone, and gently guiding it back to these sensations. The sense of the breath, the sense of the body. And so, however many times the mind might wander, knowing there's always this anchor, sensations in the body to bring us back to what's happening right now. Appreciating the breath, savouring, honouring the breath. Noticing how sensations might arise, stay around for a while, and then fade away. Noticing mind wandering, and simply bringing it back to this breath, this sensation, and this one. And then, when it feels right for you, allowing attention now to expand, to include the body as a whole. So a sense of the whole field of awareness. A real sense of the space that the body takes up. This body, as it sits here, breathing. Maybe a sense of the whole body breathing. And as best you can, bringing an open, receptive awareness to any and all parts of the body, any sensations in this moment. And you may notice parts of the body that feel pleasant. Maybe sensations of warmth, comfort, lightness. And if so, exploring how it is to zoom in, move in a little closer, savouring the sense of pleasantness. And after a while, zooming out again, opening to the body as a whole as it sits here. Simply breathing. You may also notice feelings of intensity or even discomfort. And if so, knowing you have choices, you might choose to adjust your posture, to release and relieve some of the intensity. And if you do this, see if it's possible to bring some awareness to the movement, so that this is part of the practice too, and not a break from it. Or you might choose to bring a sense of allowing to any tightness, any intensity of sensation, letting it be there, perhaps even moving in and experiencing it more fully, seeing if it's possible to bring a sense of opening, a softening to what's here. And if the intensity stops pulling for your attention, or if it feels too much, bringing the attention back to a sense of the body as a whole, sitting here, breathing, experiencing this body, allowing this experience to be just as it is. Allowing yourself to be just as you are in this moment. And for the last few moments of this practice, bringing awareness back to the sensations of breathing in the body, or to your other anchor point, wherever feels best for you. Remembering that the anchor is always here, always available to us, helping us to steady the mind when we feel unsteady, to come back to a sense of ourselves as whole, complete, just as we are.